No worries. Thanks, Anthony. Anyway, I'll start, Sean, while you try and work it out. Welcome, everyone. How to scan to plan plus modeling with BricsCAD. Today, how did I fix it? I went into settings. You tried turning it off, turning it back on again. Welcome to Scan to Plan plus modeling with BricsCAD. I'm your guest presenter or host, Alex Richardson. I'm a building construction consultant at C.R.Kennedy. Sean is the senior solutions consultant from Brixis or BricsCAD. And Brenton is from C.R.Kennedy as well, our scanning national scanning consultant. So any scanning questions you can pass on to him. Sean, go to more, go settings, meeting options. Oh, I don't want to touch anything, so I'll break it. Anyway, that's your problem. A little bit about us. C.R. Kennedy was founded by Clement Robertson Kennedy, importing photographic and optical products in 1934. In 1954, C.R. Kennedy was appointed the world's first Pentax distributors. Later, in 2001, we were awarded the sole and exclusive distribution rights of Swiss giant Leica Geosystems in Australia. What does this all mean? A family-run business that's been around this long means they deliver what they promise. With 300 plus staff, with technical specialists in all categories of geospatial, we are here to provide not just technical advice, but advice for your business to grow with technology. Who is Brixis? Brixis is a global provider of engineering design software brought to market under the BricsCAD brand. Founded in 2002, they are not a small startup, but a fully fledged CAD software. They are since 2018. They were part of Hexagon, going from 200 people or employees to now being part of a 2,000 strong company. The global footprint of Brixis or BricsCAD. Their headquarters is still in Ghent in Belgium, started in 2002, now spreading across the globe with development centres and commercial centres and far reaches of the globe. Now, I'm guessing for a lot of you, this is probably not your first webinar. The first thing I want to mention is that you've probably wasted hours trying to find software that is best for your business in the past. It's not your fault. There's a lot of information out there and it can be confusing. Many times that information overload keeps you from success. With BricsCAD's licensing packages, not only will you have a solution to your expensive CAD bills, but you'll also have a better CAD software package that you'll actually use. How much of your current CAD software do you really think you're using? Today, we'll have a look at how BricsCAD is not only just a CAD alternative, but a better CAD software overall. Our goal for this presentation is to help two types of people. For those who are just starting out with scanning technology, you'll see how easy it is to provide valuable deliverables to your clients from point clouds and succeed by being an early adopter in your industry. For organizations with more experience in scan to plan or BIM, you'll see how partnering with C.R. Kennedy and BricsCAD not only provides a competitive advantage with direct access to expert advice, but you'll also be working with world-leading AI-driven drafting software. In the next 60 minutes, our goal is to show you how BricsCAD is not just the new kid on the block, but a superior 2D and 3D CAD software that is designed from the ground up to look familiar. So learning downtime is minimized, yet it is packed full of productivity boosting features to improve employee efficiency. But how will we show you that it is superior? First, we'll discover why industries like yours are moving away from outdated CAD software. 2, we'll show you how BricsCAD's point cloud modeling features allow you to easily create 2D and 3D BIM deliverables. 3, how to not just save money, but make your money work harder by unlocking greater CAD tools with BricsCAD licensing model. Now, I know a few of you on here have told me I can't get my colleagues to make the change. I will tell you how to convince them later on in this webinar with my 4 secrets. 5, we'll have a quick look at the Leica laser scanners. All right, so everyone's good to go. You can see the chat box is working. Yes, it is being recorded. Cool. I'll do one more slide before passing on to Sean. few more people in the lobby. So BricsCAD is a complete building, civil and manufacturing design platform, all within one common environment. At the heart of this unique all-in-one design platform is BricsCAD Pro. BricsCAD Pro offers flexible design freedom and helps teams work better together. It allows designers and engineers to switch in and out of 2D and 3D workflows and is built on the industry standard DWG format for greater data compatibility with legacy systems. As well as being a powerful, innovative design solution in its own right, which I'll talk about shortly, BricsCAD Pro also provides the engine which powers the BricsCAD design platform. This platform offers comprehensive, intelligent 2D and 3D design tools, as well as advanced BIM and mechanical design capabilities, all within the same modeling space. It also integrates seamlessly with the wider Hexagon portfolio of apps, including CloudWorks for scanning, survey tools for microsurvey, and other exciting Hexagon solutions. And BricsCAD Pro also features advanced API technology, expanding the value of BricsCAD via an ecosystem of partner developers. Our current BricsCAD partner apps span a large variety of applications, such as buildings, civil infrastructure, process, and discrete manufacturing. All right, before we jump into the technical demonstration, does anyone have any questions yet? Enter them into the chat if you'd like. Anyway, so I'm introducing Sean Toomey, Senior Construction Consultant. When we were organising this webinar, we had people actually asking for Sean if he was the guest speaker and telling me how great he is. Luckily for him, I'm happy to share that So Sean will be taking us through the BricsCAD demonstration. If you're unfortunate enough to have, you can't get your mic going, good. If you're unfortunate enough to have never met Sean, he has quite the impressive resume with time spent as a surveyor at Max Braids, a CAD manager, site engineer, technical director, and now senior solutions consultant for Brixis, helping answer the toughest BricsCAD questions I can throw at him. Sean also likes all my posts on LinkedIn, so we're pretty much best mates. As an expert in BricsCAD and CAD, you're in good hands. Sean, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, mate. So my microphone's good?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
That was the most part of the presentation, getting the microphone working.
It's all right. Okay.
Now, just to check that works.
How do I present?
Okay, do you see your screen?
Awesome. Yep.
Cool.
Awesome.
Okay, am I ready to go, or do you have a few more points to make?
No, I'm good. I think you're good to go, cool. Sean.
Good stuff. Well, mate, thank you for that introduction. It's great to have a big audience here and go through all this. We're going to go through a part of the software today. At the end of the webinar, we're going to ask you as well to give us some ideas for future sessions, because these types of short webinars can be really good if we get good enough feedback and challenge us on what things we have to do. You know, one thing that I'm quite keen to work on with Alex going forward is the icon workflow. So we'll do a full CAD into the icon instruments and back into CAD afterwards type thing. But yeah, we'll solicit feedback, and please don't hold back on that. What we'll do today is one part of the scanning functionality in BricsCAD, and we are definitely known for our 2D CAD tools, which we do a great job of. But we do such a good job of that, people are often unaware of the other things we do, such as point clouds and scanning. So we'll do scan to plan today. At the end, I'll show you a short video of the scan to BIM side, which we can do in a separate session. But let's just go through the plan side first of all. So this here is the point that we're going to work with. So it's reasonably big. It's quite well defined. So it's a whole bunch of internal rooms. To give you an idea of what we're aiming towards, we will produce this model from it. And the 3D version of it, in some ways, it's like a kind of a fortunate byproduct, because the main thing we're focusing on is a 2D view of that model, which will show up as this. So we'll have the plan view and we'll go through all the process of doing dimensions and color coding. And if we get a chance, we'll also do some schedules and tables. So that's what we go towards. We'll start with a blank drawing, and we'll produce one of these. So just before we do this, you may not have seen the 3D side of BricsCAD in the past. So let me very quickly show you some of the functionality. So in some ways, it's a little bit like SketchUp, where you can draw these various shapes and you can select one of the faces in this case and stretch it. You can also click on one of these edges and, for example, move that to create these other more ambitious type shapes. When you got dynamic UCS turned on, you can draw these shapes here on the faces and move through those. So for freeform modeling, it's extremely creative and extremely quick to use. A part of what we'll be doing today is we're using the BIM package, which I should have mentioned first, actually. When you download or install BricsCAD, there's a pro version, a BIM version, a mechanical version, and a ultimate version with everything in it. So the BIM version has got a whole bunch of building tools. The point clouds are in all of the versions, but there's more tailored functionality in each discipline. So because we're doing a building scan here, the BIM has all these wall tools that we're going to use. So what we'll end up doing is something like this. If I use my quick draw tool here, I can draw a very, very basic building shape. And that's just a slab and 4 walls. You will see that as I draw from the inside out, it will cut that wall for me if I'm touching the wall initially, or if I do it from here, it will just trim them. Also, if I was to draw from the outside in, so if I hover over the wall here and then move in like that, I can create a recess. So when we're working through the point cloud, we'll use some of these tools. So I want to just give you a little brief introduction so you see what they do first of all. The other thing to be aware of is if I was to draw a rectangle along this wall again, I can hover over that space and say I want to convert that into a window, for example. And when I go to window, I pick a window type, and that will get converted here. So that's a window object. We can import Revit families for this as well. So if I type in BIM insert, and if I change this file of type to or FA for Revit families, I could import Revit windows and doors and everything else I need as well. So we'll get to that later on. It's nice for people to have some appreciation of the objects before we get too convoluted with all the point cloud side. And the last thing to mention on this quick introduction is that if I was to draw, say, a wall manually, if I was just to do a box and give a wall a certain width and a certain height, that on my properties, that is just a 3D solid. Whereas what I've drawn here, using the building tool, is actually a BIM wall object. So it has a whole bunch of IFC properties here. So you can manually go and hover over any object and click on classify as BIM. So classify that as a wall. What we'll see here is that when we do the automatic walls from point clouds, that is done for us in the background. So without any further ado, I've got a drawing file here. What I will do is I will save this file. To insert the point cloud, you must save the file first. So I'll save it in a folder called webinar, and I'll call this point cloud. Okay, now the way the point clouds work here, we've got a point cloud tab. You click on attach and you can browse to a file, and the file types are all the usual suspects. So you got E57, LAS, LAZ, etc. Also the RCP, the recap versions. In this case, it was E57. This gets processed by BricsCAD into our own format. And once that's done, it gets stored in this reference area. Now you'll see here, we got a cache folder settings area. And in here, you specify the folders you want to work with. So in my case, it's on the C drive here. You could have multiple paths. I usually have one on an external disk as well, because they're obviously very large files. So you can get quite creative to make these more practical for your needs. So with that, let's click on this one here, click on insert and attach this. What we now see is our point cloud showing up here. The first thing you'll notice is that BricsCAD is fast in general. It's quite new and it's a very small installation file. So in general, when you're working with files, you can spin it around quite quickly. I don't know how quick our web connections are here, but as I orbit this view, it doesn't have to cache or anything. It just spins it around in real time. So let's go through and work through some of the settings we've got to work with here. So the first thing I want to do, this point cloud doesn't have any color. So I want to click on the color assigning option here. So click on point cloud color. You got the options to set it by elevation, by the scan. I'll go by intensities just so they stand out, and we'll run through this shades of blue in this case. The next thing I want to do is line this up so it's got a good orthogonal set of walls on it. So I want these to go east, west, and north, south. So I could do it manually just by using the standard BricsCAD rotate command, or click on point cloud align, and you window an area with plenty of walls active, and you got two options. You can spin the UCS or rotate the entire model. So if this is a more complex file where we had different orientations, you could do different UCSs for each one. In my case, it's pretty simple, so I just rotate the whole thing. That spins the point cloud around here. I'll actually rotate it again. I'll give it a 90-degree, so it goes across my screen. Okay. So the other thing to mention here is that as I'm doing this, I can use the ribbon, which is probably the most obvious one. I can also use the quad. So when you hover over an object, it gives you a bunch of options on what to do with that. So I could access my colors here and also access that point cloud align tool. And when we get into using the walls and everything else, you will see why the quad is extremely useful. If you're doing standard 2D work, people often turn it off. So on the bottom down here, you can see where you can turn the quad on and off. So I understand that people have got keyboard shortcuts that they often prefer to use for drafting, but when you're using objects like thin surfaces or point clouds or walls, it's very recommended to actually turn it on and make use of it. So let's quickly do a small bit of cropping, and then we'll start creating walls from this. So in terms of crops, if you click on point cloud crop here, you can click on, say, rectangular. We'll draw a rectangle over this front area, and I will crop inside that. And you will see that it's literally just cropped the point cloud here for me. We can now see these bubbles more clearly. So if you click on any of these, it gives you the view from that survey bubble. We can do a lot with these. We won't do too much today because we don't have that much time. But one thing to mention is that if I run a line command, I can obviously run that line command in model space, but I can go into my bubble view, and you can see as I draw here, it's snapping to the actual point cloud in the bubble view. So you can do quite a lot with that to build up text and geometry and whatever else you need. What we'll do here, if we were doing this job in a more serious way, we would take the elevation view and carefully measure the height of these windows and the depth and everything else. I'm not that concerned about getting this too accurate, so I'll just assume that what the software is going to calculate is good enough. I'll remove that crop. We do have options as well to do point cloud crops via solid objects. You could draw a 3D box and clip to a very thin value to extract the floor, etc. That's been automated in some capacities by using this command here called point cloud detect floors. So when I click on this, it asks me which part of the point cloud to use. So I'll say use all of it. And then it prompts me, yes or no, do you wish to create spatial elements? So by pressing yes, you can see here it's built these story sections for me. So it's got floor 2 and floor 1. And if I want to check how it's done those, I can click on this home icon on the top left, and I will see the elevations that have been assigned here. So floor 2 has got an elevation of 72, and floor 1 has got an elevation of 69.7. So I could obviously edit these if I wanted. So when you do that initial crop, you would just take some care and make sure that it's picked these correctly for you. Once these have been done, if I click on this floor view here, I now switch to an orthogonal view of the model. So what it's doing here is quite interesting. It's taking the 3D model and giving us a 2D view of it. And if you look here, you can see that this graphical range on the left-hand side of the screen is how much it's going to crop the actual geometry of the point cloud. So I can drag that up and down depending on if I want to expose the windows or whatever else I need. So it gives you a very, very good interactive kind of a screen to work with this. Then the other point to mention, which is something I find really interesting, is if I was to exit this view, and if I was to go and start drawing polylines here and snapping to the point cloud. So we do have a dedicated point cloud snap here. So we've got point cloud, nearest point, eSnap, that's been turned on. So if I was to go and do a polyline command, I'll snap to the floor for this one. And then if I was snapping to the wall, depending on where I click, these polylines have got different elevations. So I can see my polylines here. If I click on this one here, you can see that the elevation is 0 in this case. And this one, okay, I think I've drawn these incorrectly where the elevations aren't even snapping to the point cloud. Let me do it again here. I'll do a polyline and I'll make sure I snap to the point cloud and I'll grab one of these. So in this case, you can see that the elevation is 74.96. So if you were doing a 2D manual drafting of this, you wouldn't know what Z value you're snapping to. Whereas what's interesting by having our story view is that when I go in here, if I was to go and run the same command, so I'll do a polyline, and again, I will snap to my point cloud here. So I'll snap to the floor in this case, and I'll do it again where I will snap to the wall in this case. So I'll zoom in here and make sure I'm snapping to part of the wall. What we'll see here is that both of these lines have got the elevation of 72.08, which is the elevation we specified for that floor. So what's happening is we're snapping to the XY coordinates of the point cloud, but the Z value of the floor we specified, which makes it very easy to manually trace this. But
Sean,
yeah,
we just got a question. Fletcher's asked, what view is this?
So it's a plan view with orthogonal mode turned on. So this is the standard perspective view here. So if I was manually doing this, what I would do is select this as a turn off perspective, so it's orthogonal mode, and you would manually create a section of that floor, which is kind of specified here. But what's happening here is it's automated. So maybe it happens so quickly people don't see how it works. But this is the elevation we specified of 72.08. So by clicking on this, that gives us the section view of that floor. So it's basically giving us a 2D process to work with, because the architects often like to draw in 2D and have the 3D extracted afterwards. So it's a good question. I think it'll become more obvious as we go through it, because we'll switch backwards and forwards a bit. So leave us know, of course, if it doesn't make sense. So at this stage, we're now ready to start.
Sorry, Sean. Fletcher said the actual command for 2D view, question mark?
I'm not sure. Also the command, when you create the point cloud detect floors, it asked us, do you wish to create spatial elements? So by making those, it creates these views for you. This interface here is called the story bar. So if you type in story bar, I've got it set to 2, so it shows on the left. So from that, you can just click on this option here and just create it manually if you want. So if I wanted to do it manually, I can just go up here and literally create my own my story views from here. So we can come back at the end and do that in more detail. The beauty is for point clouds that have got reasonably well-defined slabs, the software is quite good at finding those and automatically making these for us. And the most you should have to do is just adjust the elevation sometimes. So I think those should work quite intuitively once they get going. So to start making walls from this, let's go to the modeling tab here. And the main thing we'll do is this command called quick wall. So when you click on this, It offers you a bunch of options over here on the right hand side. The most relevant one here is auto detect wall thickness. So by having that turned on, it means that as I zoom in here, so I'll just hover the mouse here so you can make sure the screens catch up. You can see how the wall segment has adjusted to the thickness of the point cloud automatically. And what I'm doing here is I'm creating segments of 1 meter length. So that's been specified over here on the right hand side. You can make that obviously any distance you want. And what we'll then do is the equivalent of trimming and extending to form these into the complete walls. So I can press the Control key and switch from a horizontal to a vertical orientation. Let's just draw a few more here. I won't do all of these. I'll just do enough that we can see how the process works. So I'll do this one here, and I will do this thinner wall here just so you can see how it adjusts. So that's a very simple process to get going. Now, something to bear in mind is that as this is working in 2D, it's obviously drawing a 3D version as well. What it's really doing is drawing a 3D version. We're just using a 2D view of it to make it nice and easy for ourselves. So that will give us some of the internal walls. You can see how easy we can do the rest of them as well. What I'll now do is make the external walls. Now, in my case, we don't have the complete external wall survey. So what I will do is just snap to the inside. So I will click on Quick Draw, and I will just snap to this area and just draw in my view like this. And now what will happen is I can do that recessing from the outside in that I showed you earlier. But the interesting part is that by hovering here, it will snap to the internal walls for me. So it picks up the magnetic reference points of the walls I've drawn, so I can get these things to line up straight away just by doing it from a zoomed out view. So what we end up with then is our overall shape. What I'll just do quickly here is hide the point cloud so we can see this easier. So I'll select here, right click and hide the point cloud. I'll also expand this out and hide the slab. Okay, so what we can see here is we've got the basic internal and external walls set up here. So the way this worked traditionally was you would click one of these walls and you would manually align the faces to meet the external walls. So if I switch this to my object mode, I can click on my face here and I can stretch that. I could also select that face here and click on extend to nearest wall, and it'll go and intersect with that wall. So you could do it manually in that 3D view, but it's much quicker to do it using the BIM trim and BIM extend commands. So I can hover over this, and this is where the quad becomes really powerful. So in here, I will see BIM trim, BIM extend, and BIM slice. So these three commands will leave us work through this entire session very, very quickly.
Could you explain just what the quad is for people who haven't heard of it before?
Yep, absolutely. So the quad reminds me of when you use Microsoft Word and you hover over the text, it lets you change the color and access commands without going to the ribbon. So when I was doing the point cloud commands earlier, I could obviously go up here and click on anything from the point cloud, or I can hover over any entity and it will prompt me with the commands that are most relevant. And as you work more, the software will learn which commands you use more often and become more intelligent in prompting you with those. So to do what I'm doing here, somewhere up here in the ribbon, there will be a command for BIM trim and BIM extend. Probably here somewhere. To be honest, I have got BIM trim and BIM extend. So you could run them from here if you wanted, but it's a lot quicker just to hover over the entity and click on it here. So it's just a simple shortcut that we're quite fond of.
It kind of just remembers what you used last time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. So as you use it more, it becomes more and more effective for going through your workflows. Yeah, so awesome. It's a bit different to how you use CAD traditionally, but when you're using these objects, it's not mandatory, but highly recommended. So
Sean, we got a question. Anthony's asked, can you have a floating tool set? I guess like ribbon. I guess, can you pull the ribbon out? Is that what you mean, Anthony?
You can have floating toolbars. I haven't seen the ribbons
Floating
being pulled
toolbars,
out.
yeah. No, yes,
Yeah.
he means toolbars. I was wrong.
Yeah, there are toolbars here, so you could grab any of these and bring them out. I haven't used them for ages, but yeah, I think you do.
Awesome.
We tend to use the quad and the ribbon for most things these days, yeah, but I think they're also available.
Yep.
So next thing we got here is I want to trim this one between these two walls. So the exact same process. I go in here and select BIM trim, which does what you'd expect. Whenever two walls join up, you can see that this one's got the kind of miter type joint. I can again hover, use the quad and select L connect. And what it now lets me do is cycle through a bunch of different options for these. While I press the control key, it will cycle through those. I'm happy with the miter one again. So in general, once you know something can be done, it's pretty quick to find it because it's going to be in here in the quad somewhere. So you hover over the entity and just work through the options. If I wanted to work on this wall here, I can click on the slice tool. So it will literally slice it wherever I specify. I can snap to this wall, and let's repeat that again for this one. And I can then go and delete that element. So you can see how easy it is to work through this and quickly build up the general shape of this plan. I'm only doing a few of the walls because it's just a matter of repeating it. So once you understand how to do it for these, you can easily replicate and keep going for the rest. So,
Sorry, Sean, for another question.
Yep.
Interrupting you. I don't know what to do. But David's asked, are you making walls at right angles or as measured by point clouds, by the point cloud?
In this case, it's going at right angles. Actually, I'm glad you asked the question. So in this case, it's going orthogonal. So if there was slightly off, or if there was some obscure ones, let's just turn the point cloud back on and do one of those. And we don't have non-orthogonal walls here, but let's just pretend that this is actually a door, but let's pretend that that's a wall going at that strange angle. You can also click on, so I was doing the quick wall command. There's also a standard BIM wall command. And when you run this, you give it the thickness and the height. And if I now, I snap to the point cloud again. As I'm doing this, if I press the control key, it will go left, right, or center as a justification point. So you can draw non-orthogonal walls any way you want with this command. And you can also, as it happens, put in arcs. So you can build up these more obscure type shapes. So, but the quick wall command is very much for the nice simple cases where things are going to be going at 90-degree angles. So yeah, I often get involved in these discussions where people have to decide whether they want to get it as per design or as per reality. So we offer both, and it's down to the circumstances on which one you pick. That more obscure wall that I just drawn, that works the exact same way in terms of BIM trim and BIM extend. So if I click on BIM extend here, it will do the exact same thing. I've built up my strange shaped room here. Yeah, so good question. Glad you reminded me of that. So let me just get through a few more things here because I want to make sure we don't run out of time. I will turn the point cloud back on. In this case, we want to go and create some of these windows and create some of these doors. So what I want to do here is, first of all, grab all these walls and I will go to my properties. So I'm using the structure browser here to select by entity. So you can do by layer, but this just lists out the entity types in your entire drawing. So I can click here and all the walls are selected in one go. And then I can say, take these walls and let's briefly make them 90% transparent. It's just a lot quicker than putting them onto a layer and doing all that work manually. So we've got a door here. Now we could just trim this wall around that door if that's what we're after, but we do have a whole bunch of libraries of elements here. So if I click on the doors option here, I'll click on, say, a single swing door, and I can place that in here. Now you can see it's the wrong size here. I can edit it before or afterwards. So I'll do one before here. So I will say I want to make that I think it's 1.4. Actually, that's too much, but let's leave it at that, and let's put that in. I'll show you how you edit the thing afterwards. So let's place that here. So after you've inserted it, you can select this element, and on the properties, down at the very end, you will see there's a width here, and I made it 1. So I can put my glasses on so I can read this. 1.4. So let's make that say 1.3. Once that's been done once, assuming the other doors are all the same size, you can select this and copy it. So it will take that exact set of parameters that we've put in and let you copy these all around the file. And it's quite clever too, as it adjusts to these orientations. If any of these need to be changed, again, hover over the entity and look at the options that the quad gives you. So you have BIM flip for left to right and inside to outside. I can flip it like this, and I can also select it again and flip it inside outside. So you can very quickly work through and put those in. We could insert Revit families here if you wanted as well. For Windows, it's a very similar process. So you click on the library again. This time we go back to our components, click on Windows. So at the start, when I was looking at the elevation view, what you would do there is measure the height from the slab to the window sills. So if I click on one of these window types here, doesn't matter which one, let's go with this one here. It asks me for a sill height. So you can see over here, it defaults to 1 meter. So I'll give it a 0.8. And now I can go and put these windows in here. And it's the exact same process where what you would do, of course, is go and you would carefully measure the distances, get it right ones, and then copy those for future reference. So I'll just place a few of these in here. And if we now turn our point cloud back off, we can see, let me just I'll make my walls not transparent. So let's select these walls and let's go back to the properties and change the transparency back to 0. And I'll turn the slab back on as well. So what we've now got is a set of windows and doors on our model. So if I actually exit my section view, you can see that we've quickly built up a basic framework of our model from the point cloud. So if we were doing a scan to BIM type operation, what we would now start doing is looking at these walls and working out the various plies, so showing the cavity and the concrete, etc., etc. In our case, all we're after is a standard plan view. So we won't go into that just yet. What I will do here is I'll just save this file. And you may have noticed at the start when I did this, I put that file into its own folder. So this is my file I'm currently working on. So it's in a folder called Webinar August. What I'm going to do now is two things. I'm going to run a command called Bimify, and I'm also going to make a project to automate some of the planned productions. So if I type in Bimify, what this will do is auto detect these objects. Now, in my case, these are automatically classified as walls already because I use the wall tool. But if for some reason we had drawn geometry manually, the software is quite clever that it will recognize columns and floors and walls and everything else and auto classify those. It will also create sections, which is the main thing I'm after here. And as a bonus, I'll have it create spaces too. So I click on apply and it goes through the entire drawing setup here. And what you'll see is it's built all these views for us. So it's got an elevation view, it's got a section view, it's got side views, etc. I can click on any of these. So if I click on this section view here, that is the section view we're going to plot. So I could go and edit that, but in my case, I'm happy enough with it. It also has built spaces of all the enclosed areas. So I can go to any one of these, select that space and change the name from space to say, I'll call this bedroom 1. So you could go and edit those and add more information to this for BIM purposes as well. And when you go and create those automatic tables, it's able to read all of these for you. So at this point, we're ready to go. The next thing we want to do is get this put onto a separate drawing file with a title block and all that information around it. So to do this, we've got an option here called the BIM project browser. You select that, you click on create project, and in here you give it a name. So I'll call this one Alex House. Alex is very wealthy, he's got many different houses. So
Is that it?
that's it, mate. He's in Melbourne. So I won't do all of these, I'll just do enough that you can see how it works. This is going to populate our title block for us, so you could put in logos and everything else as well. The thing we'll see here is we've got a bunch of these saved views that we've created automatically. So what we could do is manually go and make a new sheet and drag views into them. But it's much quicker to go in here, select this floor view that we just want to work with, and click on create sheet. We get a wizard here where it shows us the full sheet size, and I can now change the scale I want to plot at. So you get a little preview of how it's going to look. When you click on create, it makes that sheet for us. So you can double click to open that. And now if I refresh this, we will see our plan view in here. So what this is a viewport. And on model space in here, there's a very clever block. That block is kind of like an XREF block into my other file. So this is the file we worked on for the last 30 minutes. And this is a new file that's just been created. So if you look in that folder again, it has now built a subfolder called Sheets. And under Sheets, you will see A100, which is the one I'm working on right here. So if I was to go back into here and let's click on that wall command again, I'll do something really silly. I'll just draw some random, okay, not that silly. I'll draw some random wall here.
Sean, just while you're drawing those, I've got a question. If you want to, per reality, you want to draw each line in, do you have to draw each line individually over the point cloud if the walls aren't perfectly at 90-degree angles? Or does it have that, the quick draw function?
What you can do is when I was lining up my point cloud, let me just go back to here, I'll do it again. When I was doing this at the very start, so let's go to point cloud and you click on point cloud align. So you grab some of these walls here and it asks you, do you want to rotate the entire model or create a UCS for those walls? So if parts of the model were at different angles, you could use that to briefly have a UCS that worked to that orientation. But if each wall is slightly different and you want to do each one as accurately as possible, then you'd have to snap to each one of them at this stage. It wants to default to orthogonal views for the automatic version. So at this stage, we don't have a semi-automatic feature for those, but if that's important, the good thing about Bricks is that it's still quite a small dynamic team. So I've had quite a few web sessions with customers here where we've had the development team on the phone calls or on the team session. So we're happy to take any ideas and feed them to the developers. V24 is coming out and there's actually a beta of it. So we're expecting to see more enhancements on these tools. So we're always keen to get more feedback on them. So I've just drawn a new silly little wall here in the middle of this area. If I go back to my plan view here, that's currently not showing up. I can hover over the viewport and click on refresh, and that now comes in here. So it's very, very interactive, very, very quick in that sense. And what we would now want to do is go and create some dimensions and some documentation. So under the Annotations tab on the ribbon, if you click on BIM dimension, what you could do here is use this filter option and filter via external walls, etc. It's often quicker just to manually grab a few of these. So I'll just grab these 3 walls here. Didn't want that. Grab these 3 walls here, and it will first of all place the overall dimension. You press Control, it does subdimensions, and press Control again, and you get the dimensions of the windows as well. You can quickly see how you can start to produce the actual finished plan views here. The next thing you can do is click on under Annotate. If you click on BIM tag, and you click on an area here, so that's that bedroom area that we specified. This one is space 1. If you zoom in and carefully click on one of these doors, that wasn't careful enough. Let's just zoom into here and click on this point. So BIM tag, manual, and we have something turned off here. Let's try it once more. Here we are. So you can click on this, and as you press the control key, you can document that door in different fashions as well. So these are automation tools to create some very, very quick 2D documentations. I know some customers who've got a whole bunch of blocks already. So BricsCAD will import your existing block libraries and your existing line types and your existing plot configurations. So you can easily use this to make the outer walls and the inner walls, and then use your current block libraries as well, if that's what you prefer. We like to encourage people to have a look at these, because you can do quite a lot more with them. So after you've gotten the basics done, you can then go and look at these, and you can say, for example, let's build a new schedule. Now, you could do a brand new one, or you could say, let's import one. So the software ships for a certain number of these. So let's import a door schedule here. And now we'll say we got a door schedule here. So if I drag that across, this is my door schedule. Now, in my case, I only have one door type, so it's not very, very exciting. This this spreadsheet type view, if I double click this, I can go and add any values I want to it. So you can easily, all the standard information that comes with these BIM parts, you can build whatever you need for your outputs. So that's why we do like to encourage people to use these objects, but again, it's absolutely up to yourselves. The other thing you'll see is on the very first version that I showed at the start, this one we made earlier, in here we've got different colors turned on. So if I go back to the scan view, in here we obviously have done all the walls more carefully. We've also given these names. You have bedroom, you have WC, hall, and a few living areas. So if I go back to my plan view here, on that viewport, on the properties, we've got a thing here called a typed plan. So currently it's on what I've made called EXT red, for external walls in red. What you can do is select this, and I got one here called shade living areas only. So when I click that and I hover over here and refresh, what it will do is it will color code this. So the living areas are shaded with a magenta type hatching, and the rest of them are left alone. You can do any variations on this that you want. So I won't go through all of these, but let's just go area function. And again, we'll refresh that. So here we have all the different areas being color coded via functions. Now, if I look at my typed plans here, if I double click on, for example, area function, you can see here that there's a query where BIM type is space and the type is staircase, make it this color. When it's a kitchen, make it cyan, etc., etc. So these are pretty simple to use, and the software ships with a bunch of them. So what you can easily do is take an existing one and modify it to do what you need. So what I tend to say to people is that these are kind of like bonus features, because usually the point of the exercise is to get a basic plan view out the door. That's what people are being paid for. What you end up with is the ability to produce extras. So these schedules and these shaded views can be done very quickly. Also, you do, of course, have a 3D model as well, which may not have been what was originally asked for, but since you've got it, you can easily go to File, Export, and produce an IFC model from this. If I click on Export, I will see we got a bunch of IFC options down here. So it's quite a complete process. And I mean, the questions that you mentioned, Alex, about non-orthogonal walls, they're obviously more complex. We do have other options we can do as well, using those bubbles and everything else. But the main thing we're focusing on here is when you want to quickly turn around some nice orthogonal, smallish type point clouds, this is a very, very quick process to get it done. So,
I've got
is
there you go.
sorry, one quick point. This is version 23. So the quick wall tool isn't on V22. So I am on V23.2. So if you got a slightly older version installed, you mightn't see some of these. So to make sure you're aware of that. So that's
We've got two more questions, Sean.
Yep.
I guess the quickest one will be, are point clouds coming in with LGS or RCP or both?
We can import RCP definitely. Let's go back to the point clouds, attach. So we got RCP and our RCS. And I don't see LGS. We got LAS, if that's what they mean. But usually it's E57s and LAS, as you'd know better than I would, Alex.
Yeah, cool. And I've got another question. I think it might be for another webinar, but can we, what is it? Can we be able to extract features outside of the building from a point cloud? For example, trees, natural surface, fence, fences, poles, curbs, ridges, gutters, etc.
So we have a scan to tin option. So we've got quite a clever method of filtering down huge point clouds into manageable sizes for tins. And we also have options within that to specify different densities of point clouds or different areas. So kind of levels of detail. We don't at this stage have automatic features for those other areas like fences. The question everybody asks is extracting road strings. So we don't have that at this stage, but we're always discussing it. So I'm hoping that at some stage we start.
Yeah. I think I did the BricsCAD learning modules and started doing some basic objects.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't too hard, but yeah, I guess having it automated would be great.
Yeah.
And then we had Nick saying that the LGS file can be imported via CloudWorks plugin.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So CloudWorks obviously sits on here as well, and it's a bit of overlap for sure. In terms of where CloudWorks sits, obviously the point clouds we're working on here are either on your local disk or on the network disks, but they're certainly not in the cloud. So we're not streaming from the clouds out. And what I've seen of CloudWorks, it does a lot more detail in general, but it extracts things like pipes and some of those other features very, very nicely as well. So what comes here with the software as a default is I think it's quite amazing. It's a very complete package that's kind of, I wouldn't say it's hidden away, but certainly enough people aren't aware of it. So yeah, that's where it's at.
Awesome. I've got another question. Can drawings be exported/imported into AutoCAD easily if required?
Okay, lucky people asked that question. It's not an import-export process. We actually save in native DWG. So if I go open here, these are DWGs. So the DWG format is a bit like PDF, where it's actually an open file format. So you don't need to import-export. It actually reads them natively and writes them natively. Which is why if you've got existing block libraries, that's why they will just transport across with no major work required.
Awesome. Does anyone have any other questions? I've deleted pretty much half my slideshow, so I'm just going to talk about the licensing options. But does anyone have any questions for Sean?
I mean, we can also back to the questions afterwards. One thing I'd like to ask is, if people got ideas for the webinars, please type them in. We'll go through all the questions and suggestions afterwards. So I think we'll do these regularly, Alex. So we'll
definitely.
See, we talk about, we got a few ideas, but I much prefer to be given the ideas via the public. So please send them back, or if you think of them after the session, please just email C.R.K. and leave us know, and we'll make these a regular thing. I'm not sure how I stop sharing here. Oh, here, stop sharing. So you should be able to share your PowerPoint again, Alex.
How do I do it? Yeah, Gareth. For people looking to buy, is there a structured tutorial format available to follow? Yes, there is. If you go to the BricsCAD website and go to learn, is it learn and support, I believe,
Yep.
section, there's a few online tutorials that you can learn the basics of different stuff. That's how I learned. I did use it as a surveyor, but you kind of get stuck doing the same thing over and over again. So there's a fair bit to learn if you want to learn everything. But yeah, I guess I'll just continue on with a few more slides just about BricsCAD's flexible licensing options. Where am I? So I guess BricsCAD offers two main types of payment options when it comes to our different licenses. There is perpetual, which offers the lowest overall cost of ownership, allowing you to own the software, pay the optional yearly maintenance license for updates and priority support. Or you've got the subscription option, which is the lowest cost of entry into CAD and allows you to purchase the license for 1 year. The maintenance fee is included with the purchase of subscription. So perpetual is outright an optional maintenance, or you pay subscription yearly. Once you select either one of those, you can go with the three different types of license keys. So you got a single, which is for one license key per user. So you might have one at the office and you can use the same license on your laptop, but only works one at a time. Volume is a single license key that activates multiple BricsCAD installs with the one key. Could be good for large companies with a single IT department. Or you got the network license, which is our most popular, which gives you the option of sharing floating licenses across your organization. One person can use the one license at a time, and great for casual CAD users within your business. I guess got this slide. On the topic of lower ownership costs, BricsCAD Pro is considerably more affordable than many other products on the market. It's priced competitively, but also the flexibility of its licensing options can reduce cost dramatically. So I had to check these figures because I wasn't quite sure I was correct, but these are correct. For example, if you purchase BricsCAD Pro with a perpetual license, you'll see that over multiple years, due to maintenance costs being very low, the cost of ownership is really attractive. But even when you use BricsCAD Pro on a subscription basis, this keeps the overall costs to a minimum. But it's when we compare this with the cost of AutoCAD that we really see just how affordable BricsCAD Pro is. AutoCAD is only available in a subscription basis now, and we can clearly see that whatever license type you select, BricsCAD is far more cost effective. And the more time that goes by, the more cost effective it becomes. Even after just 3 years, the total amount spent on so far on AutoCAD is nearly 3 times as much as BricsCAD Pro. And the fact that BricsCAD products are available as a shareable network license makes the cost even more attractive, as you can share amongst different CAD users in your organization. So the cost of ownership is significantly lower. It's fully compatible with your legacy DWG tools, as we saw Sean showing, and it also offers an upgrade to a whole new level of capability. The next steps after this webinar. So you can download a 30-day trial. I'll put it in the group chat for the link. You can email me if you want that 30-day trial. We can organize a technical demonstration with Sean or myself. We can pass on the migration guide. We can book in essential training. And of course, you can ask us for help. Thank you for our webinar. Does anyone have any questions? Anything you'd like Sean to go over before we conclude? I do have a slide on our Leica laser scanners if you're interested. But, do you have anything more to add, Sean?
No, we're all good, mate. It's been
Real
good to have the. I see a big crowd. I see a big crowd. So yeah, give us feedback and give us more suggestions, and we'll keep these sessions going.
Yeah, awesome. I'll leave it on this slide. If anyone's interested in talking about laser scanners, you can get in contact with Brenton or myself. If you're wondering how do you create the point cloud that Sean was using, most likely using an RTC 360. So thanks everyone for joining us. We'll speak soon.
Hey guys.